Skull or Copenhagen? No shit. I just heard an argument in the hospital parking lot between two dingbats about Skull and Copenhagen. I mean, these guys are lighting it up. And that's where it dawned on me. It's time for me to retire from all the arguing crap. Face it, Skull and Copenhagen both taste like shit. Anybody choose it? You're chewing rotten leaves, for God's sakes. How do rotten leaves ever taste good? But that's it. Everybody argues all the time, and nobody argues to solve anything. I noticed these two guys argued so hard, they only stopped to inhale. And then they went right back to exhaling and regurgitating crap about rotten leaves. Had enough of it. Me, I've been a cop, I've been an inmate, I've written a couple books, been married, unmarried, married again. Actually, I was a jailhouse lawyer, beat the feds over a dozen times. And I've got enough arguments on my belt on a daily basis, probably qualify for the Supreme Court Olympics. So I start laughing all because there's some crazy shit out there. Do you ever watch the news and try and take it seriously? Do you? No, you can't. Because now the world is actually run by Jerry Springer. I guess he's dead, but the show lives on in Washington, D.C. All the guests have Twitter accounts and nuclear weapons, and that's pretty much the only difference now. I think it's time for us to make a change and have a little fun with everything. I think one of the things that gets me about the arguing is no one's ever won an argument. No one has ever won an argument. You can argue that with me if you want to. No, you can debate and you can have discourse, as they call it. But who's ever won an argument? You can't, because you go back and forth and back and forth. You're pointing the finger, you're shouting, you raise your voice. Pretty soon you get the name calling. And if that don't work, you start punching the hell out of each other. And in the end, somebody's got their feelings hurt, so nobody ever wins. I saw a couple of guys at the county fair get into a fight one time, beat the living snot out of each other. And my granddad, to give me a lesson, said, "You know, son, you got to keep in mind when you see two people arguing and one guy suddenly starts beating the hell out of the other guy, that person who starts the fight has usually lost the intellectual disagreement, and he just launches out. That's why they do it." And then he looked at me and said, "But sometimes some people just need their ass kicked." And you look at that in the old days, I think that might have been right. The arguing was a different thing then, and sometimes you had to whip somebody's ass, but you can't do it now because you're going to get sued. And that's not what this show is about. We're not here to argue with people. We're kind of here to make fun out of it. It's kind of like if Forrest Gump and George Carlin get together in one place. That's kind of what we're going to do. You know, I get tired of some of these things. Like there's some things that people say, don't sweat the small stuff. Well, you know what? It's the small stuff that can ruin your day. Actually, the small stuff is kind of the stuff that really irritates you. While we're doing this right now, I noticed out my window here, the neighbor's dog is taking a shit by my tree. They have a leash on their dog that's about 20 feet long, and he just far enough for him to get to our yard to take a crap. God bless them for that. They don't clean it up. They don't care. And it's an older woman that has the dog. And only a couple things could possibly happen. I start arguing with her about her dog. "Why is your dog crapping in my yard?" And she gets mad at me. And she yells and I yell maybe, and it gets out of hand. And the worst thing possible could happen, she might beat the living crap out of me. She's pretty good size. She's 80 years old. Nobody wants to get beat up by an 80-year-old woman, especially after you lodge the argument. You still got to clean up the dog crap. That's my point. You get in these arguments people have in Washington, D.C. I'm done off the news. I've really, the only news, let me tell you, the only news I've gotten in the last week, there's a broken water main about 4 blocks from here. And I got that from Bert, who works for the city. Not exactly a news guy. He's missing some teeth and doesn't shave very often. Breasts are a little tough. Got kind of a odor on him. But that was my news for that day. And that was good enough because Bert and we didn't argue. Several reasons. First one is, it was a fact. The water main's broke, street's full of water. And I didn't want to stand close enough to Bert to argue. So that's good enough news for me. Back to Washington. Most of those people lie so much that their insides probably smell worse than Bert's outsides. Think about it. And nobody can seem to tell the truth. And we vote for these people. I don't. And you're saying, "Oh, you choose not to vote?" No, I was in prison. I'm a felon. I'm in Iowa. They took my voting rights away. They asked me if I wanted them back. I said, nah, keep them. You can use them. Hell, who knows? They might. The point of this whole thing is on this channel, what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about everyday things, and we're going to talk about people that argue in a funny way. We're going to look at things in a different perspective. We're going to talk about stuff that happened at the grocery store that might have pissed me off, might piss you off. Maybe it was you. Might recognize it. We're going to talk about day-to-day things that are really maybe a little more important than we think they are, and maybe not important at all. But I want to have some fun with this. Still smiling is just for people who want to avoid the noise. And my God, there's a lot of noise out there. So I hope you come back. This is my intro video. So I suppose I should say, my name's Jack. I'm here in Iowa. And we'll be back again real soon. If you get a chance to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, or tell me what you think of this idea. And if you like it, great. If you don't, I ain't going to argue about it because I'm doing it anyway. Anyway, that's how I look at it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.